Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Idina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayru maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Idina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayru maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Idina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayru maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayru maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Siratal Ikhlas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Surat al-Falaq. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil 'uqad. Wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil 'uqad. Wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil 'uqad. Wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbil falaq. Min sharri ma khalaq. Wa min sharri ghasiqin idha waqab. Wa min sharri nafathati fil 'uqad. Wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. Surah Nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, maliki nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, maliki nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, maliki nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul a'udhu birabbin nas, maliki nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas, alladhi yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas, min al-jinnati wan nas. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatihi lima ubrika wa katimi lima sabaka nasir al-haqi bil-haqi wa hadi ila siratikal mustaqim wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi wa miqdarihi alladhi. Dua Ibrahim. Surely I've turned myself to thee, O Allah, striving to be upright, to thee, the originator of the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists, for surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death are all for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. No associate has thee, and this am I commanded, and I am of the submitting ones. O Allah, thou art the king, there is no source with thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grants me protection against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none so guides to the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals but thee. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful, here in the wilderness of North America and beyond, as thou did make Ibrahim and the true followers of Ibrahim successful. For surely thou art ever praised and magnified in our midst. And O Allah, send your barakas upon Muhammad and upon the true followers of Muhammad, here in the wilderness of North America and beyond, as thou didst send thy barakas upon Ibrahim and the true followers of Ibrahim, for surely thou art ever praised and ever magnified in our midst forever and ever. O Allah, send your blessings, your barakas, your protection, your resources upon this Darrah, upon this Murid order. Send bountiful barakas upon our Sheikh, Sheikh Sufi Ba, in the holy city, as he travels and make way to travel back here to the West. Send barakas upon all the sheikhs, the imams, the jurans, the disciples, and their family that are in our order. Keep us on the right path. Keep us in the right frame of mind. Keep us committed to thee and committed to one another, and make us of the successful ones. Bake Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, Bake Sheikh Ibrafal, Bake Serene Follow, Bake Serene Sally U, Bake Sheikh Sufi Ba, Bake Sheikh Sufi Ba, Bake Sheikh Sufi Ba. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. This night we are gifted to conclude 8 weeks of wisdom coming forth from Sheikh Farad on this magnificent Qasa'id. We have been gifted with a treasure of Kun Kaatiman and the breakdown of it, the insights of it, and what Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba laid out in this Qasa'id for us to follow, participate in. We like to call it, or at least I call it, a Murid code of conduct, because it very much details and shows forth what actions we need to take to be in accord with the divine, and what actions we need to take to be successful. So without any further delay, we're going to bring forward Sheikh Farad so he can take us into the meaning of this Qasa'id. And certainly we thank him for taking the time and bringing forth the wisdom so that we can be much more better learned and moving in higher knowledge with respect to this Qasa'id. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for that wonderful opening. Love it, Sheikh. I want to start off with a recitation of Astaghfirullah Bihi to clear all of the negative karmas and sins of myself and our order, and to clear any negative obstructing energy that could interfere with this concluding presentation of this Qasa'id. So we'll do one recitation of Astaghfirullah Bihi. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa taqabbal minni li wajhika al-karimi Ali Taiban Ilika bi astaghfirullah bihi. Astaghfirullah alazim wa atu alayhi min zawahidin wa min guyu sa'altuhu bahaki wa tillahi maghfiratan min jumlatil manahi tubtu lahu min jumlatis sagairi mehal kabairi wa min damairi kafiru dhikri kulli ma takarama wa ma takara wa ma bainahuma fa imni ali umawazitni yawma wa hamalan wa abadan wa fama wa rabbi alikshifu hulama nafiha wa talhiyati min shakain maniha اكشف لي أسرار وغامضة بكرمان كشاف أسرار غامضة لجمع جميع ما تبارك الله كاتيمن الكري واسف الكلدا لكل دا تفكر لزميا ربي بكم وتاسيمان كلاميا أبليا يأكرم في تلاوا كيران كاسيران مكا وحلوا فرقلي اللهم في آياتي وتلفو أدي وتناوياتي أبليا كوني بشرا كل من يتوب وليس وحي ربي mahulguyu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the originator of all truth, the sender, source of all revelation and prophets. We thank Allah, the self-created one, for his own self-creation, which today we call the physical body and the physical universe, because we know that Allah's attributes both merit the seen and the unseen. So we thank him for this self-creation and the creation of his second self. And in the beginning of all of that, the intent of the point of all creation, the Nur of Muhammad, alayhi salam. We thank him for the beneficence and the bounty of a universe that we have been traveling throughout the eons of time ever since, discovering, inventing, and pulling more and more from his bountiful creation. But as we begin to fall in his benevolence, in his benevolence and mercy, he began to send prophets to help to break that fall. We know them today in the form of revelations, prophets, scriptures. We thank Allah for all of them. And we know and understand that in thanking him for the master of them all in Muhammad, we are acknowledging all of the prophets, sages, wise ones. And in the Holy Quran, we are acknowledging all of the books because they all summarize in this one and in this book. And so with every community, with every scripture, and with every science that is revealed, there's always those students who fall into the spiritual scientific or the scientist class of students who will be the masters that would extract the esoteric secrets. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad called these kind of people scientists because we know that in revelation and scripture are the sciences of life. So we thank Allah for all of them that have come, all of the great walis and kutubs and mujaddids that came to break even the fall even further. And of course, we know as Murids that we have the divine privilege of acknowledging them all in our Master Sheikh, Ahmadu Bamba Kadima Rasul. For he summarizes and contains all of the secrets of all of the sheikhs, all of the kutubs, all of the mujaddids. But as I go further, I will be remiss as a knower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to not mention the Insan Kamil, the supreme being Insan Kamil that taught him, that visited America, making himself known in 1930. Making himself known fully to his student, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, for putting us on a path that will lead to hands reaching across the globe in this photo that you see behind me. So I thank Allah for his divine intervention in our affairs and the supreme person of Master W. Farad Muhammad in teaching his apostle, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank him for guiding me to this knowledge and giving me the divine privilege to serve as a sheikh, now in 2 master systems and bearing his name. So in all of the great names, astaghfirullah. Of course, the reason that I'm sitting as a sheikh, bearing his name in this order, is because of one who has taken his entire life, spent his entire life going to gain the knowledge of the masters. Just as Kadima Rasul is a repository for all of the secrets of the Kutubs, I would say that our Sheikh is a repository for all of the Sheikhs. He has gone and met and lived and dwelled among the masters and have become their dwelling place. And we thank Allah for him for doing such sacrifice to come back and give us this knowledge of Kadima Rasul. It was he that asked me to do this call. So I would thank him, our beloved Sheikh Sufi Ba, and all of the holy and righteous names. I greet you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. So you already know Sheikh Farad and his long introductions, but shukur, or the attribute of appreciation is very, very great in my heart, and it is one of the most powerful laws of the universe. So I like to always give homage where it is due and to try to come from that position. So we are concluding 8 weeks, Kaatiman. I'll be honest with you, family, when our beloved Sheikh asked us to take, because we had the chance to choose from the topics, and I took right to Kaatiman, I had no idea that what came out. I went back and studied all of the lectures. And I had no idea that all of that was going to come out. It's nowhere in a spec sheet or in a notepad where that was planned in that manner for us to end up talking about words of power and talking about the ancient Kemet system of Metuneta and the tree of life and, you know, all these things that we covered by Allah's grace. But as I watched it by Allah's grace, I was very happy as a student listening to Allah coming through us. And as we embark on feeding from and digesting and opening up the tools. So with that, if there's been anybody, I want to start today's call, the concluding call, with questions, because as they teach us in public speaking, we're supposed to say what we're going to say. You all have heard me say this. Then we say what we just said. And then, you say what you're going to say, then you say what you come to say, then you spend the last part saying what you just said. So this concluding talk, we're going to kind of wrap it up and kind of cover any bases, answer any questions for those of you that have gotten a chance to hear the call. If it sparked any ideas, please come and share. This is like the feast. At the end of my detoxification class, I usually do a big spread. Some of you all don't know, but Cheikh is quite the cook. You know, I can handle mine when it comes to the kitchen by Allah's grace. So we, I prepare a big spread as a gift to the students who come to the class. So this is like a spiritual spread today. And so I want you all to bring your ideas. I want to do more questioning and less teaching and hear you all, because you have gotten a chance to feed by Allah's grace from myself and from the Qasida. So I want to hear what you got. What did we gain out of this 8 weeks of the study of Kaatiman? Sheikh Mustafa, I wanted to ask, there was a handout that I was looking for. I didn't see it in any of my emails. I was looking for it as beloved Sheikh was praying. I wanted to see if maybe you had it, because you were quite the archivist of Dr. Detox teachings and writings and so forth. So there's a handout that we did in class. It's called, it was from a book called Miracle Medicine Foods. It's a handout that we use at the end, and it's the handout where we talk about Professor Lee Ching, who was the gentleman that lived to be 377 years old. And it talked about other people from around the world that lived to be over 100 years. Would you by chance have this handout anywhere? Okay, I don't know if he's with us. Well, I was going to teach from this particular handout today, but perhaps if we find it, then that will, because I want to wrap this up with the dietary part, because Cheikh need to add dietary knowledge to this. So that's how I want to start it off. Well, that's what I want to cover today. We're going to talk about eating less and living longer. And I'm going to close out with some tools that will help you do just that. Hopefully I'll be blessed to find this handout that I'm looking for as we're teaching. Anyone have questions, concerns, observations? Did anyone get to watch any of the previous videos that we posted from before? Assalamualaikum, Mr. Zima just entered into the call, the oracle with us.
Walaikum salam, Cheikh.
We got Sister Ayashe in the class. Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh Noon, my beloved. Sally, the mystic Darrah. Salam. Kadeem, and any newcomers, send a greeting to you. All right, anybody got? Oh, that was the greetings from Sheikh Noon. All right, anyone have any concerns, anything you want to address before we jump in? Okay, so if you do, just raise your hand and put it in the chat. You know how it works. So as our beloved Sheikh Idris Ba was opening up, he was talking about Kaatiman being the Murid code of conduct, or like a guiding principle. I called it the restrictive law of Muridism. Any of you all who are familiar with the Nation of Islam, in our order, we have guiding principles that are called the restrictive laws of Islam. And the restrictive laws are the laws that guide our behavior. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a masterful way of controlling our bodies as he subconsciously taught and restructured our minds. And so these laws, and they are laws, because you can get time out, you can get exiled for violation of some of them, many of them. And it is these laws that give the Nation of Islam Muslim that particular structure that you see on us. When you see a FOI, you see an MGT, you know, and it's part of the training, of course, but it's these guiding principles that are in our head. So in this teaching, the Kaatiman is that way. I would say this is a kasai that all Murids should marry, because it helps us to build the framework for Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. The Islam part is completely covered in Kaatiman. The framework for the mastery of Sharia, the mastery of having a perfect adab, not just as in the sense of just a general Muslim, but insan kamil adab, because there is a difference. Adab changes from level to level. So, the adab of a katub is different from the adab of just a Muslim, or, a disciple murid. As you grow, particular ways open up. And, and if you are studious enough, you will notice these particular ways. That's the word that we use in the ancient world, the way of the Sufi, the way of the masters, the way of the Lama, so forth. So I would say Kaatiman embodies the way of the Murid Sadiq. That would make an excellent book, actually, because in here he gives you the guiding principles on the mentality that you have to have as we go through. So I guess let's start like that. I'll get into the dietary part, but let's just go through, because we covered each verse in the beginning. So let's close it off in that same manner. And we'll just cover from each verse. It's very, very short. So it's a qasida that's only 8 verses technically. 16 if you're using it from the qasida app, but they dividing it into each part being a verse, but it's really the 2 verses of 1 verse. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Kun Kaatiman lit duri wal busa tanal. Kazdan wal talu jila ya muta halimu. Always try to hide you who are in search of knowledge. He's dealing with a particular set of the mentality of humility that one on the path must have. There's various reasons for this, and I'm going to give it to you from different worlds today, from different schools of thought. Okay? Always hide. You know how it is when you first wake up to the knowledge of self, or any kind of spiritual knowledge today, they call it being woke. And the first thing that you desire to do is to announce it. You remember how I know how I was, you know, when I first came on the path at the age of 13, I had a shirt with a law all over it that I made with all kind of Islamic symbols and, you know, and kufis and fezzes and, you know, everything, because I wanted the world to know, hey, I know something, I learned something, right? And that's always how it is in the beginning, because subconsciously, you're really convincing yourself too, because you're making a breakthrough. It's not so much you think you're convincing the world, but it's really you convincing yourself that you believe and know these things. But as you do that, the Holy Quran says in Surah 29, do men think that they will be left alone on saying they believe and not be tried? The minute that you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the minute that you acknowledge truth, we can make it more universal than that. You don't even have to necessarily say Shahada, because Shahada is just a verbal declaration of you bearing witness in Islam, but it's really on a deeper level when you bear witness to any truth. And the minute that you bear witness to that truth, which means you had to, if it's accepted it and you accept, tests are beginning to come. That's just, it's an immutable fact, test or coming, because the universe is set up to test, and it's really a way to make you show and prove yourself. Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when the originator first began to spark the atom of life into existence, that there were opposing forces in the universe that began to fight. He said he had to go to war with the darkness. The only time you go to war with something is because something is opposing you. And so even the first one, even the originator, had to prove. He had to show and prove. So these tests are built into the universe. They're built into the spiritual mechanics of existence. So that's on a deep level, but on a regular social level, I've read, I forget where I read this. I think it may be from a Sufi writing called The Sun at Midnight, one of my favorite books. It was saying, it's a Sufi, I forget the order, but they're from Morocco. But they said, just as when you enter your foot into a body of water, all of the living beings in the water know that you are there. Because, you know, fish, dolphins, the sea animals, they have great intuitive sense where they can, you know, the way that they move in the water and communicate is very, very intuitive, telepathic even. So they know immediately. You put your toe in that water, everything that's in the water knows that you're there. And as you go out deeper, you notice the more dangerous it is the further you go out. You don't get bitten by a shark or something like that hanging out at the beach on the shore part, you know. But when you get out into the deep parts of the waters, when the current can take you under, you can drown, or you can be bitten by something very, very vicious. So it's the same way with the spiritual world. There are practitioners that have taken, because they haven't cleansed their hearts, they are dark path practitioners. They are not, their goal is not the goal of light. It's the goal of darkness, which is misuse of the power, right? So here you come, you know, all green and spiritual, ready to do 900,000 la ilaha illallahs, and they're watching you the whole time. So the more you announce yourself, the more you set yourself up for attacks, for trial. You're going to get tried either way. The trial is unavoidable, but there's trials you can avoid if you be more concealed. And this is what Sheikh Gaye, when he honored us with his presence in one of the earlier calls, he said, Kun Kaatiman means to be concealed, be bottled up. So it's some stuff, of course, you're gonna, if you're a public person, you know, like myself, like a few of us that's on the call and people know you, they're gonna know because you're teaching, you're influencing the community. But even as I move about, by Allah's grace, a lot of times, the only way that you will know how many talismans and stuff that I have on me, you would have to hug me or something to know, because I don't wear my stuff out. Because I know there are those that know. And I always know, because when I used to wear my stuff out, I would go in places and the people that smile and nod at me, you know that they know. Okay, so Sheikh Ahmad Dubamba is saying here, you are who in search of knowledge, because we don't just put these things on as costumes. We're wearing these as protection, because our Sheikh Sufi Ba made it very, very clear to us that we have to fight spiritual war with spiritual tools. This is the purpose of a talisman. This is the purpose of becoming a talisman through your practice. This is the purpose of creating the Ruhani beings that activate when you say these different formulas and kasais and weirds, right? So we coming in clear understanding that we going into the battlefield. This is spiritual war, whether you like it or not. And most of the time, it's just like Neo in the Matrix, when Morpheus was putting the Kung Fu deposits into his brain, and he woke up, he said, I know Kung Fu. He said, show me. And immediately they was in the dojo. That's just how the universe is. The minute you say you know something, the universe is like, show me. Right? So it'd be better to just not say nothing. That's what would be wiser to do. You would eliminate some of your trial. You're going to have them anyway, but you can eliminate and spare yourself trials and sentences of the wicked, who know that you growing into power spiritually means their demise in power. They know this. There's a reason that Islam was kept away from us when we were brought here, those of us that were brought here into slavery. There was documents where they found it, where Andrew Jackson, one of the presidents, said Islam must be kept away from the Black man because it wakes up his militant propensities. But that's just one of the things that it does. It makes you a soldier for sure, right? But it also makes you extremely powerful when you get to the Sufi level of this, where we are. Because like I heard Sheikh say in one of the calls that there's Muslim. So he said like a Sufi will be Muslim. This is, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like this he said. So he said if a Sufi is Muslim, then a Murid, that's like even more of a Muslim, more of a Sufi. A Murid would be like a Sufi, right? So when you come into the highest level, we have, our Sheikh has all of the secrets of the Katubs. He said it at the beginning and the end of a particular Kasai. I say that like that sometimes because I'll get diverted if I go, because there's so much power in all of this that if you start mentioning it, it'll be, multiple subjects inside of one subject. So I'll just say that we have read where he has said it, that the Katubs gave him their secrets. So when we come into this order of Sheikh Ahmad Dubamba, we are automatically getting all of the secrets to the Tajani order, the Kajaliya order, the Shadali order, and any other order, because none of these Katubs or Walis or great sheikhs reached the level of Qadim al-Rasul. Sheikh Ahmad Dubamba went through a process where he would have to go through, like Sheikh Ibrahim said, the harder the better. So he went through the hardest of tests. There's only one other person that I know that could have a story similar to that. And of course, we'll talk about him later. There's only two men in existence that I know that went through this level of trial and adversity in order to attain the heights of wisdom. And I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with this hands crossing the globe. Alhamdulillah. Sheikh Salih is smiling. Alhamdulillah. All right, so always hide you are who are in search of knowledge, so you will spare yourself trials and sentences. Is there any questions on the first verse? Or the first part of that verse? Any questions or comments so far? Okay, so then, Kasdan wa talu jilawa muta halimu, have determination and you will exceed your generation. So in spite of the first part of that verse, have determination. Your determination is to reach Tawheed. Your determination is to reach oneness, to reach mastery, to be Insan Kamil. That's your determination. No matter how long it takes, the only question, the Kabbalah teaching says it like this: the more trials and tribulations you go through, one should not be sitting around whining and complaining about what they went through. The only question somebody should be asking is, am I like God yet? Am I like God yet? Am I more like God yet? That's the only question should be on your mind. As Moritz, Insan Kamil is our determination, and that should be driven into us, and we will exceed. Because guess what? If you get the average person, and I'm going to say probably not one out of a million people, if you ask most people, what is your goal of determination? Most people are not going to say self-mastery. Most people are not going to say oneness with God. Most people are not going to say full manifestation of God's attributes. This is not even on the mind of the average person, right? So if you take to this path and master it, you will exceed your generation. And that's a guarantee. Those of us that ended up here are selected, handpicked ones that were made to attain mastery. You wouldn't have ended up in this class, in this school. Like I told you, when I was 13 years old, by Allah's grace, I came across a book, the same book that introduced Sheikh Sufi to Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. I had that same book. Someone let me borrow it. It was called The Essays on the Life and Teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, Hakim Shabazz. It's a very, very powerful, it's a little thin book, but it's powerful. And so this book and Metunetta, these are like in my top 10, because Metunetta provided the volume 1, provided the framework for understanding the power of chanting and understand the power of heckas and the words of power and why the attributes should be chanted. I got that from Metunetta volume 1. But in this book, I found out why Islam is mathematics. And it was Master Farad Muhammad that said this. Of course, we automatically give the credit to Honorable Elijah Muhammad because that is his student. But Master Farad Muhammad is the one in the problem book that is saying Islam is mathematics, mathematics is Islam. Okay. And of course, his apostle quotes that. So in this book, I learned why Islam is mathematics, because of the science of abjad and because of the frequency of the power that is in these words of power that are God. All of that came from this little book. And I learned about a man named Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba in that part of the world so much that the French were writing books about his miracles, his barakah, his power. They were writing about him. And the book was making a comparison in the way that the Nation of Islam, Master Farad Muhammad's system, had a religiously conventional approach. It had a different approach and presentation the same way as the Moors. So he was kind of saying like the Nation of Islam is the Mooridia of the West. That's what he was saying. I actually did a presentation in high school in front of a class, had a picture of Master W. Farrar Muhammad, picture of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, showing them to people. Imagine this, in light of what I just said about us being handpicked. And by Allah's grace, nearly 30 years later, Sheikh Farad is in front of you with his hands across the globe behind me. This was a divine selection. This was not me so intelligent to bump into this. This was Allah making me intelligent enough to obey and submit when he said, when I saw that book, learn as much as you can about that man. That was one of the first communications from Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Learn as much as you can about that man. Okay, so sticking to this determination, in many ways, I've already exceeded my generation. Just from the point of getting to having these different formulas and things that can take me higher. Most people would never even get these tools that we have. And even if we're in the information the age today where they can get them so easily, most people will never use the tools they have. So if we do this, we will exceed our generations. Does that make sense, family? I'm moving a little slower today, but I want to make sure that we close this the proper way. Okay, so if there's no questions or comments or concerns or observations on the first verse, let's go to the next verse. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La tuksirish shakwa fakun mutajalidan. Do not complain all the time of the events that overwhelm you. Do not complain all the time of the events that overwhelm you. Well, I like Sheikh Idris's translation. We use the King Idris version because he said something to the effect of complain to Allah, because it would really be unrealistic to say not complain. You're going through torture. Many of these, just like in the book of Psalms, Prophet Dawood was praying and complaining to his Lord, though. Not going around complaining to people, he's complaining to his Lord. So it's a way of growing your relationship with Almighty Allah. So Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba went through the same thing. Many of these qasidas, when you read it, some of it is him crying out because he went through great torture to achieve these levels, right? So he's telling us the same thing. Do not complain. Why? Because he already said it in the first part that trials are going to come. Some you can spare if you can be concealed. I remember beloved Sheikh told me, because he knew that I was going to come back, and establish this path here in my city. And there is a somewhat of a great, not a real great, but there is a more presence here. I've ran across some of them years ago. And so he was saying, not everybody is happy that we have received this knowledge. Gain a whole lot if you can go among them and not say what you know. This is what he told me. If you can not say what you know, you can gain a whole lot. That's also part of being concealed, being bottled up. It's basically what he did. He went and, how did our Sheikh go into Africa and ended up sitting with all of the sheikhs and the Khalifa, the Kutub, everybody, and he gets science and practices that people that have been on the path, their actual disciples didn't get, because he knew how to keep his mouth shut and be humble enough to receive. And in that, he gained the love of these masters that just had no choice but to pour into him. Well, this is a trait that if you recite this qasida, it will build that trait into you. But you can't complain about it. This isn't easy. This is easier said than done. And I think he gives us some leisure, because he said, do not complain all the time. So you're going to complain sometime, but not all the time. And really, like I just said in King Idris's version of this, complain to your Lord. Go to Allah with it. Okay, because it helps establish a stronger relationship with him. Hata tazunan nazu anaka munhamu. Pardon my stumbling. Be brave and act so that people believe you are lacking nothing. This is challenging when you're going through a trial. But if you have the confidence of La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi wa huwa al-aliyyul azim, that there's no power, nothing that's greater, and that the only power is from Allah, the great, the powerful. And if you have great confidence in Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, that to Allah alone do we seek refuge and depend upon. If you have great confidence in those concepts, you will walk around and be brave and act so that you are lacking nothing. I have not always scored high with this, but I have sometimes to, it can be an irritating kind of thing though, because when you seek refuge in Allah so well, it makes you appear as if nothing affects you, and then people begin to treat you like that, which sometimes is good and bad. But I've come through stuff and people are like, man, you wore it so well. So it's because of this kind of a teaching. Okay. So any comments, questions, or observations on the last verse that we just quoted? Do not complain all the time of the events that overwhelm you. Be brave and act so that people believe you're lacking nothing. Let's do this. I know for a fact that every one of you all got a testimonial about this verse. Please give us some kind of story that can show us you living this, because I know every one of us have this, an example of this. And please share it as a testimony, because we can feed from it, family. It helps us when we can hear what others have gone through. Please share your story of a time when you acted brave and it appeared as if you were lacking nothing, but you were going through hell of something. And only the practices, or only something was carrying you. So it appeared like you was walking on water. Like, it's miraculous that this guy is this calm, that this sister is this focused and centered. Does anybody have a testimonial that they can share? There's some people name popped up in my mind, but I'm trying not to pick on you. Trying not to call you out, but I already know 2 people that's on the call that could be great examples of this verse. Y'all gonna leave me hanging, or y'all want me to call you out?
Dr. Wali. Salam alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure I heard the question clearly. Could you repeat it, please?
The question is from this verse, the verse 2, do not complain all the time of the events that overwhelm you. Be brave and act so that people believe you're lacking nothing. It was more so of a request to give a testimonial, because I know that every one of us have an example of this, where we lived through something and we leaned on the practices, so we didn't complain, and to everybody else it looked like we were going through nothing.
Oh, okay, so I have you now. I can speak of the time where my mother, she decided, well, I was going through hard times. I was in between homes. And my mom, both of my fathers, I had a biological father and a second father. They suggested to let my mom keep my children until I get situated.
Mm-hmm.
But my oldest one went with his father. So my mom decides behind my back she was gonna collect,
Mm-hmm.
they don't call it welfare anymore. They call it TANF. So she was gonna collect TANF.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, my mother and my children's paternal grandmother and my ex-husband's pastor and all of them came to court against me to try to get my children.
Oh,
And
wow.
mind you, that their father was on drugs.
Okay.
And my mom sided with him. So
Wow.
I had to be the one to prove to the court that I was emotionally stable. And I raised my hand in court and said, excuse me, Your Honor, I just want to say out of everybody in this courtroom, I'm probably the sanest one. I probably shouldn't have did that. But in any case, I had to keep going to work. I had to keep acting as though things were fine and rely on the law, constantly praising the law through it all. And I won my case.
I
Not only did
mean,
I win my children, but the opposing lawyer that was there for my mother and my children, she saw me in the courthouse and she told me, I'm gonna send you a lawyer because I believe your story now that I've gotten to know you. So she actually sent me the lawyer. She's supposed to be the opposing lawyer.
oh
And
wow.
so I won my case, and that lawyer made sure that I had total custody because the judge said that all the grandmothers could bring me back to court if they wanted to after 6 months. So the lawyer went back in and he was like, no, she needs total custody. They gave me total custody. And I'm gonna show you just how good a law is even more. 4 years later, that same lawyer's child was in my class. So I ended up being his child's teacher. And
Wow.
I was just so amazed at how good. I mean, we know that a law is Akbar, but he proved it to me during that time.
Yes, yes. Talk about making your enemies your footstool and making your enemies into your friends. Thank you for that, sister. Alhamdulillah. The opposing lawyer gave you a lawyer to help you up. Come on, family. That's
Yes, the
them kind of stories
magnificence
make you
of
want to cry.
Allah. He'll
Man,
prove it every time. She'll
that's
prove it
right.
every time.
That's right. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sister. Thank you for that. That kind of story make you want to cry, man. Wow. So anybody else, Sister Zima? You popped in my mind first. Such a
Awesome.
brilliant teacher and present presenter. Go ahead.
Oh, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
I'm really
salam.
sitting here thinking about what I share. Oh man, I kind of. It's like when it's too many, you can't even figure out what.
I know. That's why I'm saying I know you got one because you wouldn't be the spiritual giant. I'm sorry.
I said yes. It's like I'm kind of drawing a blank. Like I want to share something, but I don't know if I was ready. But you know, well, I'll say this. When I started, so I have a nonprofit school called the Indigo School of Light Institute for the Golden Age.
Okay.
And I started my nonprofit in 2016, 2017. And my mentor is a 80-something-year-old elder man that just really saw and understood my vision. And at the time when I started the program, I was really in a space of like transition. And I was at a space where, like, sometimes in your life you can get stripped of things and you have to like rebuild. And so I was in one of those spaces. So I ended up going back to like serving in restaurants. Like I did that for a long time and I was good at it. So I was like, okay, I'll go back and do that, And so while I was working there, my mentor, who his name is Dan Moore, he owns African American Museum in Atlanta. And he just happened to come in for luncheons. And every time he would come in, I was just deep in prayer at this time is what I wanted to say. I was just deep in prayer, like, okay, I'm trusting the process. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just going to roll with it. We're going to stay prayerful and just stay, positive. So I don't know. I met a lady. She ended up giving me the number to the manager at this restaurant, and like he hired me. And then so Mr. Morris coming in and having lunches. And so there's this rotation with the servers, but every time he would come in, the rotation would always fall in my section. And probably about the second or third time that he came in, we would always chit chat, whoever he came in and had lunch with. It was always, positive conversations. And one day he just says, hey, what else do you do? And it shocked me because I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I do talk about health and I do this and I do that. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, take my card and make an appointment with my secretary. I just feel like we need to talk.
Mm.
And I said, okay. So I go down there, and Allah had told me when I took that job, you're only going to be there for 6 months.
Mm.
So just know that. But what was coming after that 6 months, I had no idea. But again, I'm just trusting the process and staying in prayer, staying close to God. So I go make this meeting. He was like, yeah, just set up for a 30-minute meeting, so I can just kind of see what you're into and if I could help you with anything. Okay, so I go. I ended up staying in that man's office for like 5 hours.
Wow.
And we just talked about everything from just life to spirituality. This man is in his 80s, so he's just dropping like all this heavy wisdom. And we started talking about the fact that I had started this rites of passage program for girls back in 2006. And at this time, this is like 2015, I did it in the school. They paid me, but they watered it down. And I just sat it down because I didn't know where to go with it. And so that ended up coming up as a conversation with him. And he was like, you should do the program here at the museum. I was like, wait, what? And just from that point on, this man, like at this point, my manager at the restaurant called me out the blue and said somebody said some kind of complaint on me, and that they were putting me on probation. And somebody literally lied on me, and I couldn't. And I was like, no, it was one of those situations. Is a couple, and they the girl goes to the bathroom. I came to the table to check on the check, and he tried to talk to me, and I said, hey, you with your girl, and da da da. And so he made up this whole fictitious story because I didn't give him my number.
Wow.
And so there was nothing I could do, nothing I could say. So I got offered a full-time job at the museum. So I knew, okay, this was the next thing. But in my mind, I kept saying, okay, I'm going to work at the restaurant at night, and then I'm going to work at the museum during the day, because it was on the same street, like literally 3 blocks from each other. So I was like, yeah, so I'm going to double up and be able to catch up on some stuff. And then it was like, didn't we tell you? I mean, when I tell you, that whole situation happened literally like 3 or 4 days to 6 months.
Wow.
And I ended up, right. And I ended up at the museum working full time. And out of that came me doing my school. And he said, let me tell you something. He's like, the reason I want to support you at this school is because God told me that I'm supposed to support you. He was like, when you came into my office and we talked that day, I knew exactly who you were and what my responsibility in your life is. I'm supposed to help you with anything you need. So he wouldn't take no money from me. This man, I wrote my book when I was at that job, my first book. I wrote there. He encouraged me to write that. He was like, you have to write a book. You have so much information. You're knowledgeable. So this man actually paid me on a 6-hour shift. He said, do your own stuff. He said, I want you to go in the back office for 2 hours every day and work on your book. Wow. Who pays you to write a book?
To do your stuff, right, on their clock.
Right. And then he helped me get my nonprofit started, because the museum's a nonprofit. So he walked me through that process, paid for everything. Bought the food for the girls, invested in everything I was doing. I mean, just set me completely up all the way. And from that point on, it just, here I am. But that's the shortest version. I'm sorry to be so long-winded.
No. That's one, Sister D. That was a wonderful story. I knew you had one. I was gonna pick on you first. I said, I know Sister Zima got one, because you wouldn't be the spiritual giant that you are without these kind of stories. That's right. Just it comes with the territory. So thank you for that. We greatly appreciate it. Beautiful, beautiful story.
Give thanks.
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh Sally, you are the senior Sheikh on our call, and I heard Sheikh Sufi say of you on a video that you was the first Murid to achieve Fanafi Sheikh. I heard him say this. So as humble as you are, you can't even deny it. Cheikh said it. So I know you got one for us of how, because you have been doing these practices and so forth for years. So please, beloved Cheikh, give us something.
Astaghfirullah, Cheikh, you say don't complain.
Yeah. Come on with it, Cheikh. I know you got it.
Well, I get up every morning, let me see. And excuse me, give me 1 second, Nasir. Excuse me, yeah, Nasir saw your face. He say, we was in Georgia with him, granddad.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Some of them, I don't know if it's kind of like I could say my life been like a trial lately that it's almost like personal. I don't really want to share it.
I understand.
But I do have some, but know the type of trials besides. Let me see, the best one, let me see. Oh, I grew up, I got knowledge of self about when I was about maybe 14.
Okay.
Okay, give me a minute, I'm gonna think of one, but I can tell you this. I'm in a cult.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I mean, like now, my mama, everybody think I'm in a cult. That's like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is what the family
about
and everybody
2 years
is
ago, my
yeah.
wife, we've been together for about, let me see. My youngest son, 23, and how you say, left. And if I was a Sufi, I could get you to do something. Man, it's so, man, I'm jumping around. Come back in 5 minutes. I get it in order. But it's like you done came in.
Yes,
I'm like,
sir.
I take the one. It's just like complain, I take mom. Some people wish their mom and them was still around. So I take them to the doctor. She got a twin sister. They stopped driving. Then everybody say you need to work, and then this, and then, man, but I'm in a cult. But I'm the one that everybody left and everybody had to come back. And, man, I'm jumping around.
Yes, yes,
and Cheikh, I can see how you wear it well, because when I got that information, I cried like it was my own. And then I really didn't have no complaints in life. I was like, that's like nothing. But outside of that, anything that you could just, I could just be honest. I didn't name my grandsons Nasir and Sincere. My son's name, man, you know how you getting out, your mama and them will cook you some food and give you the proper food. Because you may have been a little delinquent. They be like, this knowledge of self doing. Well, I'm always get a use some bacon, just crazy thing. You just gotta.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. I said,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But man, stop. Cut that down, Nasir. Cut it down, because they can hear it. They can hear it. But I'm jumping around. But yes, well, 1 week when I was absent, astaghfirullah, you said, Sheikh Idris Bar had said, don't complain. My right ear rang. Then he had said your name, Sheikh Bar. And I know I was there when Sheikh Sufi had told you to start wearing that attribute.
Yes,
I said, one we should obey. So I don't do too much. It don't like bother me. And it's like everybody looking like, how is he still, like supposed to be crying and complaining? But I know it's really fake, like Zay Zulu say. La ilaha. It's really fake. But if you get caught up, and then sometimes I be like, is this deep in my subconscious and I'm reflecting this? But sometimes I just be like, people be, it's them and their trials they got to go through. And every soul get every good that it earned and every ill that it earned. But I don't want to say my ex-wife, but to say, her, my mom and them say, they be like, yeah, they say you in a cult. And listen, it ain't no big deal. I'm like, but I don't need, and everybody want to know what Salih doing. Everybody want to, far as like, if my mom and them, but I'm sorry, y'all, but
no, sir.
But it's like, I almost didn't want to say that. I can think of so many things.
Man, really, I know, but let me say why
Help me out, Cheikh, because
this is the reason I picked you in the next one, because when as Cheikh just told you all, while I was grace, it was at his home that I received the official station and the attribute for it. It was so crazy. It happened on his porch. And so we were staying there with him for a couple of days on the journey on that tour. So when you in a man's presence, you get to see him for real. And what I saw was a man that looked like, it don't even seem like Sheikh Saleh walks, like he floats. Like when you see him moving, he is definitely the energy of these attributes. So I can see very well why Sheikh said he was the first one to attain Panafi Sheikh, because no matter what we was doing, he was zikring, no matter what, at all times, at all points. As we was moving around, we went to the store, he took us out to see the town a little bit. And it's just like, he is the frequency. So I know a man like that, like I'm saying, like I just said to Sister Zima, you don't become a spiritual giant like this without test. So this is one thing we know. If we meet a spiritual giant, we know two things. They got tools and they've been tested like hell to get them. This is what we know for a fact. There's no grandfathered into a spiritual height. There's no cheat around it. The closest cheat that you would get is to come across these Kasais. But even then, Sheikh Ibrahim said the harder the better. So that's how I knew. That's why I picked you, Sheikh, because when we were with you.
Got me. Hey, stop a lot. If yes. Sheikh Sufi Bar in my life, probably for you too, Sheikh. Harder the better. Say Allah don't love that you don't get trials. Yeah. So some of the trials I begin to realize it won't that my soul was earning. Like Fa'al Noor, who get information in the morning on Kun Fire Kun Radio. He say it's not punishment, it's for preparation. And I was hearing that in my head, and then Sheikh Obadiah had followed up. Remember, because Sheikh Zulu was asking anybody want to say. And then Sheikh Obadiah followed up after the difficulty comes the ease. So it's almost when you were saying, I knew he was gonna ask me, I was just gonna be like, Sheikh, I ain't wanna act like I'm on it. I don't wanna complain. But it's so much little funny stuff when I'm the observer sitting around watching.
Yes.
I'm like, wow, because it was funny. I come joke over. I was like, yeah, I heard I was in a cult, and it'd be funny. And it's probably a joke among them. But y'all know when people say a cult, I'm not saying OCCULT, a cult, because they like, well, dang, how we Sufis roll, we stay at each other's houses and stuff like that. They probably like, that dude crazy. He would, okay, give me 1 minute. Astaghfirullah. I need Zima Love Fire or Oracle Aisha or I see the comment. Now this is where I can see the sister probably, she like, say we roll, Sheikh could be in New York. I'd be like, Sheikh, I go to New York, pick you up.
Absolutely. That's just the way the life is.
Like but I take her anywhere she want to go to. I spend all the time, but all of a sudden, anything I did almost was like, I need to go get some counsel from the oracles a few months ago. I was glad. I said, anything I did was like, if the Sufis asked you, y'all gotta remember. People I've been doing this. This ain't nothing new, but it seems like I got them bees moving. But all I'm doing is moving bees.
Yes, sir. That's all you. That's all you're doing. Quote unquote all. Right. Sheikh Saleh is a definite barman family. I can say that as a personal. Just
did I talk too much in your class, Sheikh?
No, sir. No, sir.
No,
Help in the class, Sheikh.
So, oracles, did I go to from a woman outside looking in? Would you be like, he just rolling too hard for this dude? That's how I think she got. But if he came around, they'd be like, she brought a friend around one time. They was in the blood. She was like, we was gonna do this and do that, and be like, they brought this dude to the robe in the house and let him. When her friend got there, she say, I've been coming. I know Salih before you was like, I remember his mama and them stayed here. I ain't never felt this kind of energy in the house. You know, so it was, it was distracting. I almost say, I lost my family. Like, after all them years, like, boom, and it ain't never been the, okay,
I mean.
Assalamu alaikum. I can concur with you, Sheikh Sally, and you're not the only male in the Darrah who has shared a story like that.
Oh, I ain't the only one that went later. Okay, I never wanted to share it. No, I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't have never imagined that. I'm telling y'all.
I think us females go through it too.
We buddies, Beth. She like them Sufis, boy, got a
Exactly. From my perspective, I used to be married to an imam, and the presence, he must have saw the presence of Sheikh Sufi on me, yo. He was on Facebook trying to find this Sheikh Sufi. He was trying to figure out, who are you hanging around? And guess what? When Sheikh Sufi came to DC, he let us use his masjid, and he done fell in love with Sheikh Sufi. I said, I mean,
he jumped around trying to, y'all understood, because I was like, this might be on YouTube, but y'all understood, like, Sheikh can't get it right. He just jumped. I'm not alone. It ain't no misery love.
Not alone,
Sheikh. I ain't gonna never tell nobody that.
Nah, you ain't alone, Sheikh. You know what? I'm gonna use my story is in more in line with what you just said, because I got a million of them too. But last year, well, you know, you remember Sister Zima, we was in Atlanta and I did the spiritual warfare talk. And so in the midst of that journey, my family, I was away from them for some time for various reasons. And then once I got back around them and they seen even more hardcore presence, like they always saw me with my beats and stuff, but it's like something happened to them. So they, in their minds, what happened to me was the trial made me crazy. Right. So, you know, our family are kind of funny where they, so, you know, I started going to church with particular ones, you know, just because anything that's of God and is positive is vibrationally sound enough for me to participate. So, but in their minds, they were trying to convert me. They were trying to fix me. Right. Yeah, we need to just take him to church. Maybe we can pray for him. You know, they ain't saying this to me, but you know what it is. So this is what's funny though. Every time they would take me around a particular preacher or pastor or somebody or saint, that saint would bear witness to Sheikh Fard. Oh man, this is a friend of God. One lady said, no, he's not a servant. He's a friend of God. She used the language. I didn't tell her that Wali meant that. She said it. So it started getting so to the point that it's embarrassing because my family is almost like I'm your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. All these people y'all respect, y'all bring me around them and they respect me. You looking at me as sick, but they see the spiritual development. And so that's why if we just stick to this is Sheikh Ahmad Obama saying you will excel your generation. Because just in this little bit of time, which is actually a lot of time because I've, you know, by Allah's grace since 13, but y'all been doing this church stuff for years and y'all still wrestling with the world. The world still got their grip on you. But this little crazy little brother with some beats that he keep doing like this over and over and over again. Every time you take me in the midst of somebody that you think is a spiritual giant, that spiritual giant bears witness to your brother. All praises due to Allah. So that just shows you, La ilaha illallah. This is really fake. The world, when we really grasp that and take to these practices like this is the only thing that's real and do what Sheikh told us, which is to make your life revolve around the practice. Make your life revolve around the way, not no life. That ain't life. What you got, what they got. This is life, what we're doing. The promises, Elijah Muhammad told us Allah's promises, money, good homes, friendships, and all walks of life. I've experienced pieces of each of these, but the friendships and all walks of life part I never really experienced until I came into the order. Like I've had friends, you know, by Allah's grace, I know how to be strategic and, I'm friendly and stuff like that. But The minute that I became a Murid, a whole world of friendships open up. I got three best friends in Nigeria now, a couple in Senegal, like people that I met just traveling with Cheikh. Cheikh included me in his circle, you know, so it's like this way, all based off of something as simple as doing this and mumbling these crazy words from the perspective of people that see us. So Cheikh is telling us, Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba is telling us, you know, be brave. It takes bravery to take on this, what we're doing, to say, I'm going to come out of the matrix. That's brave. There's no other way to say that. And if we are determined, we will accomplish, and everything that tries will reverse and work in our favor. As Sister Yashe just showed you in those cases, and Sister Zima and Sheikh Saleh, everything will reverse in our favor if we just stick to the practices. But here's more. Here's more mentality that we have to have. Ilmu la yuta liman yaksa tawan. My favorite verse, because science is never granted to one who fears hunger. And I wanted to say something to this verse. On last week's class, I forget the brother's name. I think it's because Rabbah is his name. He commented in and was saying about he was given a different interpretation on what he saw in terms of it dealing with the provision to get food. Now, this is why this kind of dialogue with us is so important, because me, being Dr. Detox, being the dietitian by Allah's grace of the order, I only saw the hunger part in terms of food. I never even thought of the other part. Not to say the other part wasn't there, but I had like bridles up against it. I only saw this part. So that was very valuable to give me that other part, because once I went back and did another recitation of the Qasiyah, I saw it. I said, this is why the brother was saying that. So it is. Now, I said this last week, I agreed that it was both, but I saw it more, that it is not only just the food part. He is saying that you got to fast. You can't be eating all. You can't eat like them. When Cheikh was writing this, he was telling the Murids two things. Okay, you can't fear that you're going to go without. That's what hunger really means. In that context, you can't fear going without. And you can't fear hunger either. You can't be eating like them. Right? And he was proof of it. He didn't eat like them. But he also didn't have fear of provision, because he knew how to eat less, talk less, sleep less, and of course, pray more. The Sheikh Forrest addition to that. All right. So science is never granted to one who fears hunger. Bal Rabuna Habdan Saburan Yulhimu. And no, this is why. Okay, beloved, I'll look at this in a minute and see. No, this book wasn't written by, pardon me. Let me see. No, this book it wasn't written by Islamic source. The book is called Miracle Medicine Foods. But thank you for this additional tool, though. Thank you for that. And if not, I'll find it and just teach on it in another time. Okay, because I have the actual book.
No, Bismillah Sheikh, was it the one by Rex Adams?
Oh, Medicine of the Prophet. No, but I've been looking for that book. Alhamdulillah, that's Tawfiq. Brother, do you know how long that I've wanted this book? Wow. No, that's not the book, but thank you. I'm glad I asked that for that request. So I'll probably just have to wait until I have because I have the actual book. I just don't have the handout in front of me. I want to put it up on the screen. So don't worry about it. Thank you, though, for those two new tools. Okay, so the reason that he's saying, really, when he's saying that science is never granted to one who fears hunger, he's saying don't fear hunger. And here's why. Know that God raises the servant who demonstrates patience. So he's saying it may look like your position is low. Sheikh Sally was talking about this. One of the other calls about how you start thinking about your money the way it was flowing and it made period to be a stop. But Sheikh is saying, no, when you're on this path, there's an obligation that Allah has toward you because he said that he will raise us when we seek him. He's duty bound to do that. So he's saying, no, know this. In the scripture, the Bible says it this way: seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added. So when you're on this path, your risk, your provision is guaranteed, especially if you demonstrate patience. And what is patience? We defined that in the very first call. Patience is enduring without complaint. See, does that sound familiar? Do not complain all the time. Some people think patience is just enduring. When they talk about Prophet Job, they say the patience of Job, but that wasn't really Job's virtue. Job's virtue was more so endurance. We could say patience too because he complained to his Lord, but he was complaining all the way through there. He was borderline about to miss the test because of it, and then he got it. One of the wise friends gave him the right way to see it. And listen to what he tells him. He says, God wants you to see friendship with him as gold. What do we call friendship with God in Sufism? Walayat. God wants you to see walayat as gold. This is the gold, right? And wants you to see gold as dust. What do you do with dust? You dust it, you throw it. He wants you to see that is nothing, and he wants you to see this is everything. That was the real lesson. And he's saying that same thing. Just know, just be confident. There's no way I can starve. Never, not if I'm a wali. Allah would have to be a liar for me to starve or to be homeless or something or anything. That can't happen because Allah will have to undo his own integrity for that to happen. Right? So know that God raises a servant who demonstrated patience. If you demonstrated patience, now you can undo. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so you can undo your own blessing by complaining too much and doing the opposite of this, but this will be you. This will be Allah saying in the Quran that when it's of negative or as evil, it's of your own hands. You can mess it up for yourself, but you can't, he won't be default in duty ever, Almighty Allah, right? But it's going to be a test. I mean, you know, it's going to seem like it. Sometimes I remember my Gung Fu teacher used to say, when he was teaching you, I'm trying to squeeze every last bit of resistance out of you. He says it's almost like a toothpaste tube. When you curl it all the way up and you're trying to get that last little piece, I'm trying to get everything that resists me teaching you out of you. And that's what trials do. Sometimes it'll take you right up into the very end, and then everything will switch. Okay. So the next verse, Dawim Hala Darsil Hulumi Matalihan. You who want to acquire knowledge, review each time, every time. Sheikh Idris, can I request your divine assistance on this? You still there with us, Sheikh?
Bismillah, I'm with you.
Could you give me the Sheikh Idris version of this verse? Because I liked what you said better. Your translation.
Let's see here. We're on
verse 7 in the Qasida app, but it's really verse probably the way you have it, 1, 2, 3, 4 to be verse 4. Dawim Hala Darsil Hulumi Mutalihan.
Gotcha. O you who are ardently seeking knowledge, I pity those among you who do not continually revisit your lessons.
See? So that's what for the remainder of this, Sheikh, if you could follow me up with your translation.
Okay.
For each verse. Your translation is way better. So say it one more time for us. You who are fervently.
O you who are ardently seeking knowledge, I pity those among you who do not continually revisit your lessons.
You know what? Let me give you a simplistic example of continuously. We know mechanically what this does, right? But really, what is the simplistic thing that this does? This provides the thing that Honorable Elijah Muhammad said is the greatest teacher. Anybody know? Begins with an R. The greatest teacher begins with an R. When I'm saying la ilaha illallah, 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 what am I doing with la ilaha illallah again and again and again?
Resuscitation.
Say it again.
Repetition.
Repetition is the greatest teacher. So when he's saying those who don't continuously review your lessons, guess what? The Kasai is a lesson, and every time you're saying it, you're reviewing it. You're opening it up again, and it's going to be different every time because every time you do the Kasai, it changes you. So the Astaghfirullah Bihi that you did today is not the same one that you did earlier today. Because that molecular you that did it earlier today is different this time. Yeah, I didn't hear me. I'm going to say it again. When we do these qasidas from Qadima Rasul, they change reality. Astaghfirullah, let's say it better. Because la ilaha illallah, there is no reality, there's only Allah. The qasidas line you up with reality. Every one of them. Just different, it's just like looking at a map from different angles. From whichever angle you need, Astaghfirullah Bihi does it. Muhammad Nafi does it. Kaatiman does it. It lines you back up with reality. So it's like erasing the board, right? The board, somebody drew some stuff on the board, that's the world. It's a Kasai, erase that and take you back to what is really real, which is Allah. So every time you recite the Qasida, your structure changes on a molecular level, on a biological, cellular, subatomic level. You are new. Family. Every single time. The Astaghfirullah Bihi that I did today, this time, was not the same Astaghfirullah Bihi from last Wednesday. Neither the Qasida or me is the same. Because the Qasida is opening up every time. So Cheikh is saying here, I view you. Oh man, this is what be happening to Cheikh. I'm about to start crying. I pity you who don't get this. And you don't review it. So look, this is where I am with this now, family. When I go through something, I look at the situation as what Qasida would address this situation. I don't even look at the situation no more. I look at the situation as an opportunity to introduce me to a new Qasai. Oh, enemies plotting, lying on me. Like this is saying, okay. I don't know that Qasida. The situation is irrelevant. Why? Because La ilaha is not real. It's not real. The only thing real is Allah. La ilaha illallah. So the circumstances have to show up in order to drive you towards. It's almost like the Qasai is saying, I need you to know me. So I'm going to present this situation so you can get to know me, which is really you getting to know you. Does that make sense at all, family? What I'm saying? Pardon me for being so dramatic about it. But it's just like when you just see the benevolence of spiritual masters. This is a beneficent thing. This is a benevolent thing. This is the most beautiful thing that a master would go through something to make it easier for us. A master goes through the trial so he can have a toolbox to hand you. If you look at this on a mechanical level, when you think about inventions, so a lot of the inventions that we have today was to undo the inconveniences of previous inventions, right? So something, some item used to use with your hand would cut your hand, so another item was invented to stop those hands from being cut. So it's the same way with spirituality. The masters foresee everything that could happen, especially Cheikh Ahmadou Bamba, because he went through the most. Like I said, there's only two men that I can talk about like this. One of them gave us Kasai's, and the other one gave us personal knowledge of God himself. Mm-hmm. Yep, and by Allah's grace, your little brother, Sheikh Fard, is going to make them do this. Alhamdulillah. So this is what we have in the Kasai's family. Man, I pity those who ardently seek knowledge. I pity for you those who fail to review your lessons each time. So not only the lesson, because that's really reviewing the lesson, that's the hard way. That's the base man's way. That's not the Ba man's way. The Ba man's way is we address things from the causal level, right? Once you get into Seker, you're dealing with things at the root of existence. You don't deal with the chalkboard no more. You're dealing with the hand that's holding the chalk is about to write on the board. We're not going to put the horse before the cart before the horse, because we know what makes something happen. We don't care what the happening is. I'm starting to get a lot of requests for people that want me to do spiritual work for them. Like this, there was this group that is establishing some kind of institution. They were trying to get some land, and they wanted me to come out to do some spiritual work on the land. So I went out to the land. I told Sheikh about it. I took Falzani out there, Falzani and Wakana Hakan. Recited Falzani, Wakana Hakan. I took some of the grass from the land, put it in a Ziploc, brought it home. Here's a little formula I'm giving you. This will work for you. And then played the Qasida in front of it. And then I left it with them and told them, play this until y'all call me and tell me that y'all got the property. About 4 days later, they sent me a picture of the deed. So they got the property. See, I looked at the situation like, okay, which Qasida is this that's trying to get me to know property acquisition? That's what kind of Hakan. Protection of the property of Matlab al-Zayni. Y'all know anything about this? Is why it's so important to know the history of the Qasida, because that also helps you to see what the Qasida does. Falzani was when the Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba was trying to establish Tuba, and the area was uninhabitable because there was a lot of wild beasts and different stuff like that. Now just think about this in light of what we said in the previous calls about words of power, and what Sheikh Sally said, words of power influence and produce more than influence. Influence too, but that's at a nicer level. Influence would be somebody that isn't a Ba man. They still could influence events with the Kasai or the words of power. And the words of meaning describe something. So imagine he didn't go and see all of the animals and wild beasts and just wrote something describing what he saw. He wanted to undo, he wanted to change the situation. That's what God does. God produces. It said he taught Adam all of the names. And then what happened? The angels bowed. What Adam say? Did I not say that I know? Did I not tell you that I know the seen and the unseen? See, that's what happens when these attributes open up. They give you causal power. Causal. You don't have to make things happen anymore. You make things happen by producing and creating the thing that happens. And with these Qasidas are built-in power that do just that. And by Allah's grace, I showed and proved it. Wakana Hakan Falzani. the property, they have the property right now. Alhamdulillah. And of course, that's opening up other worlds for Cheikh because now, I get more phone calls about this kind of stuff. It's going to produce a whole new line of business for me. Alhamdulillah. But sometimes I get clients who they'll present something to me and they want to show me all of the details of the something. There's a situation they're trying to undo. They want to send me all this. I'm like, I don't need to know that. Because I'm not going to even look at the situation. This is all I need to know. What do you want to happen? That's it. Leave the rest of it to me and us. Of course, me meaning Allah, myself. I don't need to know all, because when you looking at the situation, you looking at what can't make it happen. You looking at all the opposing factors. Ain't no opposing factor for what I'm using. That's how you need to start thinking. Okay, we getting past time. Let me move through this. I'm doing well. So for those of you who are ardently pursuing knowledge, I pity for you those who don't review you. The easy way to review, which means to see again, repetitively. Repetition is the best teacher. 1, 2, repeat, 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 repeat. That's easy. I'm doing well. So Yawaha Timzin Lit Tawa Tajah. Pardon me, Yatajam Jamu. Yaweha Timzin Lit Tawa Tajah Jam Jamu. I pity the one who, in the next verse, La Tash Tagil Bir Rizki, pardon me, Rizki is Rabu Wara. You who are looking to know, so I pity the one, you who are looking to know, do not look at money at the same time. What's your translation of this verse, Cheikh?
Bismillah. It says, do not overly concern yourself with the pursuit of wealth.
Got it.
Allah puts himself in charge of the prosperity and success of those who seek knowledge for his sake.
See? So you don't have to be overly concerned. It's already built in. I remember in the book, Fighting the Greater Jihad, one of the things that the sheikhs were concerned about when Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba was rising in popularity, and he was taking a lot of the sheikh, a lot of the disciples from other sheikhs, because he wanted Senegal as a whole to adopt his model for the way that Darrahs are built. They were concerned about, well, okay, that's fine, Sheikh Bamba, but we trying to build some commerce and some economy. He said to him, you're not going to have to worry about your provision. Why was he saying that? Because he already knew that he was going to give them these powerful words of power, casitas that were going to produce everything for us. He already knew that, and they didn't. That was almost like him being Adam saying, did I not say to you that I know the seen and the unseen? He knew this, and they didn't. So you don't have to be overly concerned, because built into the path is risk provision. So of course, that don't mean, there's nothing wrong with pursuing financial pursuits. But when you coming from this level, you're pursuing it with a whole different level. Like me, when I was building my brand, I'm 27 plus years in this Dr. Detox career. And I'll say this closing, because we're way past time. So thank you all for staying with me. Do you all know that I never did one? I think I only did one ad one time. Maybe the very first time there was a brother here that had this business where he would go around to different stores and collect all of their email databases. And then if you paid him, he would do an email blast for you. Business called First Civilizations. He would do that. I think I used him one time in my whole career. One time I did an ad, and I've had hundreds. One day I looked at my stack of my Dr. Detox regimen agreement forms. It was thousands of them. Some of these people I don't even remember them. And guess what did it? This. The attribute Yalatif. The attribute Yalatif is what built the Dr. Detox brand. Yalatif did it. That's all I would do. I would go into, so, you know, by Allah's grace, my way of life is fasting. So I'm always in that, you know, try to make sure that blood is always in my head more than is in this brain. And then I go into a formula of Yalatif, calls start coming. Hey, we want you to speak at this church. That's how it always worked. That was before I had these casitas. So just Yalatif and the knowledge of personal knowledge of God from Asfar Muhammad and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay. So, verse 6. Wakshal ilaha ledinhi mutahafizan. Isla yanalu ilma hasin mujrimu. Fear God and follow his religion, Islam. For whoever disobeys God and the one who hurts others never will own knowledge. What does yours say, Cheikh Idris?
Bismillah. Obey Allah and follow his way of life. For he who disobeys Allah will never have true knowledge.
Yes.
By having information about something, it's being able to fully know, feel, and apply it within spiritual awareness and consciousness.
Being able to know when, where to apply it. You know what that sounds like, Cheikh Idris? That sounds like problem number 13 when Master Muhammad says Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. And once you learn Islam, now you must use it
to secure.
To secure. Look, he didn't even leave us. He told us how to use it because we'll get so up in the clouds with stuff. So he made it plain. You must learn how to use your mathematical theology in the proper term. If you all remember, when I first came I did a class called Mathematical Theology in the Proper Term. The proper term means when and where and how to apply it, according to what? But he says you must learn to use it. To do what? Secure benefit while you are living. Then he says what the benefit is: money, good homes, friendships, and all walks of life. All of that can be attained from Islam. But that's not just talking about Sharia Islam. Because we all know a lot. I mean, probably many of us could name somebody who said that they were a Muslim for years and don't have those things. But if you are a Sufi, that world opens up to you because that's mathematical theology in the proper term. Okay, so Na'il Kawahiba wal Gawania wa Tazil Intan Tatnu Minha Min Radan La Taslamu. What does yours say, Sheikh?
Stay away from fantasies of legally marriageable, youthful, adolescent, or otherwise attractive women. In this leads to disobedience and
So these are immortal sins. This is what adultery and other perverse behaviors that will lead to completely corrupting you. So that's pretty much to the point. Okay. So la tashtarit dunya bi ukra fa ya fata man baha nuran bi duja fasa yandamu. Do not sacrifice the hereafter for this world, O son of Adam. So it is clear that whoever exchanges light to darkness will regret it. What does yours say, Cheikh?
O youthful one, do not prioritize this world over the hereafter. Whoever trades light for darkness will regret it.
Mm-hmm. So that's the last verse. So this is why the Bible says, and I'll close with this point. I didn't get to cover the dietary part. I guess this is how this was supposed to happen. seek ye first. See, this is an equation. It's telling you seek, so you're going to go on a path. But first, this is really telling you how life should be. Prioritize. Cheikh Ahmad Dubamba said it that way. Prioritize. Do not prioritize this life over the next. This world has people that do that. They build their whole life getting material things only to end up sick, very unhealthy, depressed. And this is why in most religions, you find older people coming to God at the end, right? After they did a whole bunch of corrupt stuff, because guess what? They didn't seek ye first. They didn't follow the equation. The equation, it didn't say seek ye only. Seek ye only the kingdom of God. Seek ye what? First. Because if you don't seek ye first the kingdom of God, your behavior, your actions, your moves are going to be based off of immorality. So the God part has to be first. This has to be first, because this is going to give you the moral compass on how to move. And internally, it's going to produce the alchemical process that's going to bring. So listen to the rest of the verse. Seek ye first what? The kingdom, the kingdom, the king in your dome. Seek ye first the king in your dome. In other words, seek ye first to be godlike. First, not obtain it. Because we know obtaining it is a path. But guess what? Most people are not even seeking it, family. That's not even on most people's to-do list, to have the king in their dome. They say, people religiously say stuff, but look at their life. Look at them. And you can see it. Seek ye first the king in your dome, the kingdom of God, and what? And all of its righteousness. In Kaatiman, you will find all of its righteousness. Because Kaatiman is the restrictive law, is the moral guiding compass of this one Kasai. And then what? And all of these things will be added. At that point, you will accomplish tawfiq, because the world, okay, I'm gonna close. This is my last point I'm gonna make. And I'm gonna see if any of you all get this. It's a real simple example I'm about to use. This is how we're gonna close our call tonight, with a visual lesson. Take a cold glass of water. Imagine this, right? A cold glass of water. You're going to put this cold glass of water on the table. What's going to immediately happen to the outside of that glass? Immediately. Let's say that the cold glass of water is in a hot room. What's going to immediately happen, no matter what the temperature of the room is, what's going to immediately happen to the outside of this glass?
Condensation check.
So yes, so there's going to be water on the outside of the glass, right? That's what we call condensation. Thank you. Now, here's the question, Sister Zima. Since you answered, where does the water on the outside of the glass come from?
The inside of the glass?
Really? So you're saying that the water seeped out of, through like the pores in the glass and came to the outside, or maybe from the top of the lid of the glass?
Did the glass sweat?
Okay, then now think about this. This is so simple, but once you get this, everything that we said in these 8 weeks is going to open up. Let's say, okay, let's go with what you're saying, Oracle. Let's say that let's say it was a mason jar with cold water and there's a lid on it. So the glass is the glass is closed. There's a lid that's closing the glass, so nothing can come out the outside of it because it's closed. Did the glass sweat? Okay, let's go with that. So if the glass sweat, that would still be your first answer. It would have had to come from inside the glass, right? Because when we sweat comes from inside the body. So where does the water come from that's on the outside of the glass?
So it sounds like what you're describing is like like it's attracted, likeness attract likeness outside of the glass.
So, okay. So where did the water come from, sister?
I mean, but technically we are in water anyway,
Okay,
right?
such a scientist. Go ahead.
So if we talking about the breath, I think I even talked about this on Friday, Darrah, just talking about the breath and the water droplets, so
Okay.
the water outside can be attracted to the water inside.
Okay, now let me change the dynamic for you. Now I'm playing with you. Now I'm gonna mess with you. If we warm this water up, there won't be no water on the outside of the glass. Why not? If what you said was true, if it was the water on the inside of the glass attracting the water from the outside of the glass, once that water becomes room temperature, condensation ceases on the outside of the glass. Why? This is something y'all never thought about before. But it's so simple.
I know it's gonna be simple.
But you there though, you there, but it's one part that we can miss easily. What you said, we're in water, so there's water all around us, even water we don't see. Now I'm gonna bring it home. I'm almost giving it to you now. Let's just take a cold, empty glass, not a glass of cold water, a cold, empty glass. Put it in a room, condensation, it won't happen for long, but condensation is going to come on the outside of that glass. Where did the water come from on the outside of the glass? There ain't no water inside the glass now. Where did the water come from?
Out of the atmosphere.
Yes. Which is what you just said, Sister Zima. So I'm not saying it like he said what you didn't say. Both of y'all said it. But why? Here's the part that's so easy to miss. That temperature of the glass, the coldness creates the magnetism which draws the water to the glass. Once the glass becomes warm again, that magnetism ceases and water doesn't come to the glass.
Wait, Cheikh.
Yes.
A stock for a lot.
Go ahead.
I think Sheikh Mustafa got it. Break it down, Sheikh Mustafa.
Sister Zima, you should be jumping around in circles.
I got something from Cheikh. A stock for a lot. I didn't want to cut the sister off. Stock for a lot, Oracle.
No, go ahead. I'm here. Go ahead.
It was a couple things I got from that, Cheikh. I don't know, but from what I'm hearing, if I could break it down real quick, like stock for a lot, is that when one enters a certain environment, having done specific practices, we enter that environment as that cold glass. But if you in that environment too long, the environment we start taking on the attributes of that environment if we don't keep ourselves cold. Ooh. Is that kind of what you were saying, Cheikh?
Listen, yes, but I would add this. I would say it like this though. You got it at the very end. The cold. Okay, so if we put this in terms of polarity, we all alchemists here, so we know everything has gender and polarity. So if we make the cold, if we had to make hot and cold a gender or a polarity, Oracle Zima, what would you say cold would be? Would you say cold would be masculine or feminine? If we had to put a gender or polarity to it.
Cold would be feminine.
Okay, and then feminine in terms of active, which polarity? What we say feminine is active or receptive?
Receptive.
Completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the temperature is the reason why the glass pulls the water from the atmosphere, because it's receptive completely when it's cold. So that cold just means be receptive. But here's the trick, is a trick almost, because we can say it metaphorically like this in Sufic terms: when you are cold to this world, you are completely receptive to everything in it. When you become warm to this world, you're no longer receptive to Allah's blessings.
Mm.
So it's almost like an oxymoron. It almost seemed like it's contradicting itself, but it isn't. It's like the code represent code to the world. Like, okay, I forget the saying, but it says everybody else chases the world, but the wali chases God and then lets the world come to him or her.
Cheikh, may I chime in?
Huh?
May I say something?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
Bismillah. You know what that brings to mind is, and man, you just hit me with something that is like my brain's going off right now. Because what it brings to mind is when we talk about the breath.
Yes.
Because when you breathe in, it's cool air, and when you breathe out, it's warm air. And then I can take that even further because there's a sister friend of mine who's a very, very dope poet. And but she's just really deep esoteric. And we was just having a conversation, and she was like, you ever notice when your happy tears are sweet and angry frustration tears?
Yes. Go ahead.
Still like different degrees. So like
salty,
saying is just. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Cheikh Sally?
It seemed like they kind of I don't know if when you said that tears, they are different. Wow.
Yes, your emotions actually produce different types of tear quality. So it's really interesting. So if we talk about the cool being a receptive and us breathing in that cool air, and then we're pushing out that hot air, it's like Allah already built in a system for us. You better work, Cheikh. You better work. Okay, I'm signing off.
Y'all gonna make me throw my hands up like an old man in church, man. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Now look, Oracle Zima. Does the cold glass have to go get the water to come to it?
No, because from what you're saying, if we talking about being built in, then we just looking at the outer reality of the inner.
The glass don't do no work other than being cold.
And all we got to do is breathe.
All we got to do is breathe and remain cold to the world and radiate this. This will produce the coldness to the world.
Right. Which
breathe,
keeps you in that breathing. Right. Oh, come on, Cheikh. You better come on, Cheikh.
And all of these things will be added. Seek ye first. Remember what we said in the other call. The seeker finds God where? In Seker. Seker is where the names of God are. So that's how you seek God, is through his name. When you do that, that's going to make you cold to the world. That's going to make you prioritize God over the world. And if you notice, the world always wants you when you don't want it. Think about it. The person that don't want, I ain't talking about somebody that ain't got no goals. That's different. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you don't want, when the world can't offer you nothing, is when it offers you everything. Think about it. When you that kind of a mind where you don't want, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not what? Want. Being cold to the world means I don't want it. That's all I want. And if this is all I want, the world is going to want me. Seek ye first the kingdom and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added. You become the cold glass where you don't do nothing else but sit in the middle of the room, and all the water that is in that atmosphere will find you. The glass cannot even avoid it. It will become moist on the outside of the glass. If you truly become cold to the world in the way of God, the world and all of its treasures is already built in. Sister Zima just said, it's already built in. But here's what Shaitan tricks us, because he tricks us into thinking we have to go get it, which means we don't have it. Thus the work, thus the chasing, thus the selling your soul. All of that comes from you being convinced that you don't already have what you already have. I don't have to chase the attributes of Allah. They're there in me. I just have to open them and maintain a righteousness while I do it. Because guess what? You can seek the power of God without righteousness and you'll attain greatness too, but it's going to be to your and everybody else around you's detriment. That's why the Holy Quran talks about travel the land and see what was the end of those before thee. It ain't so much what civilizations did. How did they end up? Is what the Quran is telling you. That's what you want to look at. How did they end up? And if they didn't use righteousness to get it, they plummeted. If they did use righteousness to get it, they prospered continuously. Did anything that Sheikh Farad said today, Sheikh Farad said all today makes sense at all? Any little, just one piece, did that do anything for anybody today?
I mean,
Alhamdulillah.
Oracle Zima, I want to say thank you for getting that. When you got it, it activated something else in me because I started seeing all kind of examples of stuff where you see something cold and water just came to it, outside and inside. And it's a polarity that as soon as you change the temperature, it changes the variable. So that's the same thing. So this shows you that the real work, this is why all occultists of all ages call this the great work. The great work. This is the real work. Do you know it's way harder? What if somebody told you, I want you to sit for 8 hours today and I'm gonna pay you hourly to only focus on God. But I'm gonna only pay you if you can only focus on God. You know how hard that is? That's way harder than any labor you could ever do at a warehouse. That's the real work in this world. Does that make sense, family? But guess what? Guess what? Even if it don't make sense, which we know it does, how can it not make sense? We know it does, but guess what? These casitas, it don't even have to make sense. All you got to do is just say it. And if you say it, it's going to make sense. And it's going to make dollars too. And property and good homes and friendships in all walks of life and youth and vitality and eternal living. All of them blessings are going to come if you prioritize this way over the world. I pray that something today has helped somebody. It helped me because I had knew about this example years ago, but the other day I was getting some water and I saw it and it just hit me. I said, I'm gonna teach on this next class. So alhamdulillah, any final comments, concerns, observation? Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sister. That is a tremendous compliment. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. I give thanks. It just was a wonderful class and, very thought-provoking and connecting the dots. You always do a wonderful job of connecting the dots. So,
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Zima. Once again, coming from a spiritual giant like you, that is a tremendous compliment. If I could connect the dots for you, well, Allah's grace, I'm doing something.
Give thanks, Cheikh.
Yes.
All I can say is just give thanks. There's no reason. That's why it's no reason to complain. Because if you wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have said nothing. Sometimes I be wanting to say in the morning, rise and shine on Kun Fire Kun, that Sheikh Salih, it'd be difficulties. But at the same time, when you in the nature of your own soul and know yourself, 99% of the problems are really in the mind. And if you just change the station and get off the static and be on the station and understand, accept your own and be yourself. And is you don't have to say it out loud. But like Sheikh Obadiah say, take one, say it out loud. And like Sheikh Sufi say, the other names will follow. Malik will be like, where Hakeem at? Hakeem be like, where Al-Alim at? Al-Alim would be like, well, where Ali at? And actually, Kaatiman brought me back to that old spirit when I was young, like when Asan Unique, better known as Old Dirty, say, if I got a problem got a problem till it's gone. Because they really don't exist when you master the mathematics.
That's right.
Go back and check it. So actually, our true nature, like you said, the great work of pressing the human attributes back forward to the attributes of Allah through invocation is actually a pharmaceutical. It's an attribute, it's a kasai for each aspect of life. So actually in the so-called, some of them have been trials, but the difficulty, stuff Allah airplane rolling over.
But but look at that. Look at how we should look at trials now. See, the way we was looking at trials was we was looking at trials religiously. This we must change, family. We have to look at trials as alchemists. We're on the alchemist path. We're not religious sheep.
You know what I was gonna say? Because if you're a runner,
you
don't have nobody running beside you, you don't know how fast you are. So actually, there are tools set up for the growth. Basically, the same thing you're saying. So actually, you had me, I just want to put that out there, Bill. We live. I complain, but I just wanted to share. You know, and I could go on and on about that, but why it's been no difficulty? Because actually, you set yourself in heaven at once, and the things outside, they really have no effect on you. No more than you have to be in the world and out of it. With that, I say peace. So
that's right.
Stop Allah for complaining for the sake of the class, but and it might have been good, you know.
No, it was a lesson.
To share that because I would have never known, like, our motivational speaker or oracle. Wow, okay, I talked it up. Sheikh, perfect. You shook us. Sheikh supposed to shake, like Sheikh Zulu do. They don't know. Some people get mad and be like, he can't. But a sheikh will shake you up, supposed to shake you up. Get them attributes. So you can get them attributes for it and be your true self.
I mean, that's what trial means. The test is not, see, as religious people, we was thinking the test was God testing us to see if, how can an all-knowing one, why would an all-knowing one have to do something to see what you gonna do? He already know you. No, the test is for you to see how you will use the attribute, how you will invoke. I heard a MC say, the bigger the hurdles was, then the bigger my hops be. See? That's how we got to think. When the hurdle is higher, this is a test to see if I can, not to see if. Change that. We're not sheep. We're alchemists. This is a test for me to jump higher, not to see if, because we know you can do it. You Allah. How can you not do it? You can. But guess what? You have formulas to do it. Oh, this is a test so that I can use this formula to overcome it. That's the way you look up at it. And when you approach life like that, family, we will be masters in no time. Because the truth is, we are masters now. We just have to master the basics. And the basics is the mentality of the fact that I am cause, you are cause. These situations are not real. But in order for me to show and prove that in real time, the situations have to appear to be real so that I can show and prove that they aren't. This is a game. It's fun. Oh, okay. I like watching, because I like hearing MCs freestyle, and I was watching Sway Universe. And in the beginning, his introduction is the 5 Fingers of Death. He quotes from some movie, I don't know where it is, but the guy said, I'm the best, and this is another opportunity for me to show it. That's how we got to be thinking. Oh, this is another way for me to prove my Allahhood. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is another way for me to prove Kareem. This is another way for me to prove Salam. This is another way for me to prove, Mutakim. This is another way to prove Latif. That's what these situations are. Not test to see if. No, test to see what? To show forth the power of the fact of who we are as divine beings. I'm gonna close with that point, family, because you know me, we'll be on here. Now, I'm thankful y'all stayed with me this long. Alhamdulillah. It is a tremendous honor to have you all for 8 weeks, -1, because we was actually supposed to be done last week, so pardon me for that, but thank you. I just came out of isolation, family. I was in Hoa for some days, and I didn't even know how this class was gonna go, but this might be my favorite one. Alhamdulillah. I'll see when we go back and watch it. May Allah bless you continuously. May Allah bless our order. May Allah continuously raise the station of our Sheikh, because we know that as we attain more and more fana, more and more annihilation into him, that we are really ascending as he ascends. Let's pray that Allah increases our appetite for walayat. May we all be gluttons for walayat, like we have been gluttons for this world. And through that gluttony for walayat, may he manifest himself to the greatest extent to show forth the power of La ilaha illallah. Thank you again, family. I love you all. It is such an honor to be a Sheikh in this order, to know people like you. You all have been the gift of my initiation, the gift of the trial. There was a lot lost, but as I look at you and think of you, it's way more gained, because what I lost wasn't real, and what you are is the real, is the reality. So if there's any more comments, concerns, observations, we want to close out. We're opening up what we're doing, because Sheikh Idris is the assistant Sheikh of the Jordania. We are creating our tag team mastermind energy. So as we start to do lectures together, you know, we're getting used to each other's energy. Y'all say we work well as a team?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I got a question. I ain't gonna, because I know I just walked out my mom's house. You know, she called me Chief Runner on Senate. So I just want to know, after a couple of weeks, could we link back up again? You and Sheikh Idris, and have one more Kun
Absolutely.
man.
I plan to start another class.
Okay.
Something else.
It ain't over. Okay.
Yeah.
More classes to come.
Else.
That's all I wanted to know. Yeah, okay. That's all. I ain't gonna say no more. Give thanks. Love and light.
It ain't never over.
Give thanks.
So y'all do say, Sister Zima, you say we do make a good team, Sheikh Idris and myself?
That's the dynamic duo. I was holding back. I've been wanting to say it, the dynamic duo.
Beautiful. All praises.
Because Sheikh Idris bar drops about mathematics on us.
Yes.
How you say it, Sheikh Mustafa?
Astronomical.
Astronomical. Some stuff. He's astronomical.
Two together.
Astronumerology, something like that.
Yeah.
All praise. He's the greatest. All praise. And all he does. All praise.
I'll go ahead and
Little Jeff, I was talking for Little Jeff, Dr. Wali, all praises. I just wanted to give that. I say I concur with all of your lessons. I truly thank you again for these 8 weeks. All praise to Astaghfirullah for my absence for a few weeks. All praises. But yes, you and the beloved Sheikh Idris are a beautiful team to see and watch. All praise and learn from. Little Jeff.
I mean, so we people tested and read, approved, Sheikh. So now we take the show on the road. And I saw Sister Yayashi and Sister Zima open us on some stuff. So there's some stuff coming up ahead, family. So let's get our energies ready. I don't know exactly, but I seen crowds, big crowds in front of them. The stage, Sister Zima's over here, Sister Yayashi, of us and the people were being magnetized. So, you know, this is something that we got to get ourselves ready for. And we have the tools. So there is no excuse. And we looking for no excuses anyway. So, all right, if there's nothing else, anything else before we close out?
Astaghfirullah, Sheikh. I was going to say, concerning that crowd, we'll definitely be in front of one for the retreat.
I mean, and thank you, Sister Zima, for the beautiful work that you have done in keeping it so organized. You know, sometimes when we do events like this, we kind of take for granted the professionalism that's needed because we family and we like, you know, we don't have to have, but you know, you really go out of your way to make things feel first class, and we really appreciate you for that, sister.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh.
Yes, alhamdulillah. And y'all know me, I'm usually fasting, but I ain't gonna even lie. I'm looking forward to some food this time. So I know it's gonna be some good stuff there. So, you know, y'all might get to see Cheikh real time this time. So, alhamdulillah. All right, if there's nothing else, we're gonna go ahead and close out. I'll close out with the Fatiha. And of course, we'll do Astaghfirullah bihi, and then we'll close out with the Fatiha and Salawat. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa taqabbal minni liwatika al-katmi kali ta'iban ilayka bi astaghfirullah bihi. Astaghfirullah azima wa atub alayhi min zawaharin wa min ghuyub. Astaghfirullah azima wa atub alayhi min zawaharin wa min ghuyub. Saltuhu bahaki wa lahi maghfiratan min jumlatil manahi tubtulahu min jumlatis sagair الكبائر ومن دمائر كثير الذكر كل ما تكرما وما تاكرا وما بينهما فإني اليوم وازدني يوما وحملان وابدان وما ربي الاكشف فيها وتعاليات ساكا إيمانها اكشف لي.
Assalamu alaikum. Look like we briefly lost Sheikh Farad. I'm sure he's making his way back into the Zoom to finish up. If not, then we're going to go ahead and close out with a Fatiha. Give him a little bit more time to come back in. While we wait, I'll just ask the question. Is everybody ready and excited for the big retreat coming up?
I definitely am.
Yes. Inshallah.
Sister Zima was talking about that feminine energy. That feminine energy is on fleek. It is lit. Y'all are doing your thing. And it is so needed right about now. So needed. Words can't express. But yeah, this retreat for some reason has a different feel to it. And we ain't even in it yet. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
You're onto something. We don't know what it is yet. We're onto something.
That next level up. or in. I'm not sure if Sheikh Farad is having difficulties, but we'll go ahead and close out since it's late. With Al-Fatiha, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Oh Allah, send your protection, your love, your healing over this Darrah, over everyone who is on this call. Keep us in thy care and keep us persistent on this path and make the path easy for us so that we can continue to thrive and be successful in the work that is ordained for us. Ba ke Sheikh Sufi Ba, 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 Ba ke Sheikh Sufi Ba. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Assalamu alaikum. Much everybody for listening and for participating, bringing your wisdom, because you are the lights that keep this universe moving.
I mean,
Walaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Salam, Cheikh. Salam's love and light, family of light.